might be better if you can prevent the game getting to the post-Imperial stage.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that their town centers cost less wood can really just have them easily snowball a game. And speaking of the game, it looks like we're in.
Yeah, we are in, and as you are my guest today, Resonance, you may do the honors, have the honors of introducing the players.
Thank you, Zach. As always, it is my pleasure to be here, guys. And on the far right-hand side of the map, we have Spaden playing as the green Persians. And on the left-hand side of the map, we have Edie playing as the red Mongols. So these are two very, somewhat popular civilizations here. And, ooh, what map do we have here today as well?
Okay, so this is Slippery Springs, and it's part of the TEC Light map pack, which contains 8 maps of various sort of styles. You've got some that are all land, some that are mostly water, and some that are hybrid, and this is one of those hybrid maps. It's one of those maps that is kind of interesting due to the fact that you can travel across the sand with your boats, and the light map pack tends to have maps in it that are a little bit different to the standard maps, but not too extreme like the fourth and final map pack, or the fourth and final game, which uses the random map pack. But what are your thoughts on this map? What do you think about this map?
Well, this is certainly one of my favorite maps to play for fun, since it has this really interesting dynamic of, if you go for something like a galley rush, you can actually use it to, fight the enemy troops on land a little bit more reliably, and likewise, if you move your navy into the middle of the map, it can, of course, get shanked by some spearmen and scouts, so that's something that's interesting. This map is also, it has like a little bit of deer in the middle right now, and that's gonna both players are going to kind of want those deer, but if they move out there, they're going to be really vulnerable. So I like this map. It's an interesting balance that encourages a wide variety of strategies.
Yeah, I do like it, and to be honest with you, more and more like the hybrid maps that involve a little bit of water and and land at the same time are starting to become more and more sort of popular in my opinion, and I'm starting to like them more and more as well. Interesting as well that we got Persians versus Mongols, and I actually think the Persians are a really solid choice, especially considering Spartans playing on this map now. Now, Persians are a really popular choice in Nomad, and the fact that they can have faster producing TCs and docks makes them really good when it comes to building an early dock. That is exactly what Spartan's going to be doing in this game. Maybe a little bit of he's kind of hedging his bets a little bit on hoping he'd get a map that has both water and land on it. But I think the Persians are a solid civ all round anyway, and if they go to the late game against the Mongols, they're still going to have a lot of strengths that perhaps the Britons might not have.
Yeah, the Persians was the one civ that I didn't bring up back then, which would be that, once we ban out the big four, I think that the Persians, Britons, and Mongols are usually the go-to choices, and looks like, yeah, like you just mentioned, we have the docks going down for both players, but unfortunately for Spaden, there does not appear to be that much fish where he's docked. Eddie's dock looks to be quite solid.
Yeah, the dock location for Spaden is not great, really. I mean, he should have put it in the corner, and it's kind of, I don't know, if he'd have, I mean, I don't want to insult him by saying maybe he doesn't know the map too well, because I'm sure he's done his research, but it always pays off to put the dock in the corner, even though it means a little more villager walking time. The lack of fish here is going to be a real problem for him, and if he can only take shore fish, the food income is going to be massively lower than Eddie's over at his side. I also want to point out real quickly, it looks like Eddie lost a villager as well whilst luring that boar. There is a dead body between the two stone piles at the back of his base. So interesting that he lost a villager there, and I think that's because he's not done loom. And that would also explain why Spaden is also at 19 villagers, even though he hasn't lost a villager, and that is because Spaden's done loom here.
Yeah, both players off to a relatively slow start. I'm glad you pointed out the loom thing, because it certainly looks curious when you lose a villager and both players are still on essentially the same population. I like to see that, after Eddie builds the dock, he does, of course, gather 10 food with the villager that built it from a shorefish. That way, when, he walks back to the base, he gets just a teeny bit of eco boost. Little things like that can really add up over time.
Yeah, it can. I mean, it's just all about efficiency, really, and that's something that if I'm trying to make like some quick tip tutorials and things on YouTube now. This is a kind of new thing I'm doing, and it all boils down to like efficiency of the way you do things. But before these guys get to feud, I really feel like we should have a quick look at the maps. And there's a couple of things about the way this map is set up, the resources that seem a little awkward to me. First of all, looking at Spaden's side, that gold on the right side is horrendous. Not only is it blocked in by those berries, but it's also blocked in by the trees. And it's not technically bugged, because once the berries are removed, there are enough faces showing. But it fortunately does have gold on the left side. Another downside for Spaden on this map is that his deer are out on the front, like you said earlier on, which means he's either got to take a risk by going out to the middle with villagers, or he's going to have to push them back to his TC with the scout. Quick look at Edie's map shows us that his deer are at the back, and that's obviously a little bonus for him, since his villagers are going to be safer if he decides to collect the deer there. And other than that, his map looks pretty solid, actually.
Yeah, I think his map is looking reasonably good here, and of course, since he's the Mongols, he is going to be up to the feudal age slightly earlier, but a little bit behind due to the lack of one villager. And now, both players up to the next stage, barracks coming down, and it looks like Eddie's going forward with the tower. He's going to make the first move.
Nice one, yeah, that's really good. I like this. I mean, we were speculating earlier on about who might be the aggressive player, or the more aggressive player, and it seems like Edie taking advantage of the faster feudal time, that tower on the right side going up, and also on the left side of his base building a stable to go for some pretty typical Mongol scouts, which is more often than not the case when watching the Mongols play.
Oh yeah, Mongol Scout Rush is quite potent, you know, considering that they get to the feudal age a little bit earlier, and with that faster hunting bonus, they're going to have so much extra food. And in a stark contrast, we see that Spaden is going for the double archer range in response to these scouts, and the scouts are moving forward right now.
Yeah, this is the thing, like the Persians, they could go for scouts as well, and there's nothing stopping them doing that. But going straight into archers, he's going to save himself a little bit of food there. Perhaps thinking about getting, you know, a good castle time here. Perhaps also considering that he doesn't have good fish at the back. So for Spaden to go into scouts might actually destroy his food economy, considering those deer are also a little out of reach. But Eddie coming in on the left side, looks like he will kill a villager, and Eddie's off to a fantastic start right now.
Yeah, wow, that's going to be a great pickoff for him. Of course, the way the forests are set up, this map is, you know, easy-ish to wall, but there's a lot of space to cover, and Spaden trying to do a stone wall that is not going to go up in time. This defensive spearman is going to zone off these scouts, but the damage is already done. With one villager down, Eddie's looking quite strong.
Yeah, he is, and I mean, like, sorry, I was just checking the chat there. Like, I would say thank you to Clayman for subscribing. People are, like, rioting because I didn't say it earlier on. I was like, oh god, I'm sorry. So invested in the game right now. So thanks a lot, Clayman, much appreciated. At the back of the map, of course, Eddie here with a couple of galleys out as well, getting the upper hand there. But in comes Spaden's spearman to get involved, which is something you don't see every day. Of course, made possible by the fact that these galleys can travel over land. How do you explain that?
It is actually hilarious to see that in action. And the spearmen, as funny as it is, guys, they do have a tiny, you know, extra attack bonus versus galleys, which is almost never relevant. But in this game, you know, it might actually happen. And we see there that that galley is on relatively low HP from Eddie, and both players just running around on the water. Spaden has to run his fishing ships away and rip his food economy.
Yeah, it's pretty bad as it is. He's had to see tons of farms right now. Like, I looked away for 20 seconds and suddenly there's 7 farms right there. But this is a big deal. I mean, moving his fishing ships away there, not ideal. And it looks like Spaden will lose the water completely, giving Eddie a nice fish advantage, meaning that his overall food is going to be a lot higher. And indeed it is. Even though Eddie's gone for scouts, he's still got 460 food in the bank versus Spaden's measly 64 right now.
Yeah, when you go for a scout rush, you always run the risk of, if your opponent can get a full wall up, then the scout rush is going to be relatively ineffective. But Eddie, being the Mongols, can get in there so quick. Spaden going for those stone walls, which do build, you know, relatively slow, and the scouts doing some serious work here. Eddie pulling ahead ever so slightly.
It's all about the speed with the scouts. And I think the thing here as well is Eddie's not over-invested. He's not made too many. He's made a couple, and he's done the damage he needs to do with them. Now, at the moment, Spaden actually has got a larger military, but because Eddie was quick to get the aggression out, and Spaden's been playing very defensively, defending from Eddie's fast attack, what's ended up happening is Eddie's had plenty of time to wall up, and he's walled up with stone walls as well, which basically means that Eddie has Spaden has next to no chance at getting in, and his best opportunity now is to attack this house, but Eddie's prepared. He's another house behind it, and a blacksmith going up here as well to block his advance.
Yeah, being the aggressor does give you that extra benefit of giving you more time and space in your own base to build defenses, and Spaden's bringing villagers forward to try and take down this house, because villagers, have a very strong attack bonus versus buildings. Is it going to be worth the idle time? We're going to find out, because Eddie, advancing to the castle age, Spaden is on a clock.
He is, and he is going to have to do some eco damage here, because Eddie, once he reaches castle, is going to be in a very strong position. Eddie's tower there going to push Spaden away, and it's kind of awkward. Spaden with those 3 villagers on the front. But it's worth noting that on the right side, the far right side, Eddie has had 2 idle villagers over there for a long while, looking perhaps to build another tower behind the wood line of Spaden here, but he doesn't actually have the stone to do that right now. But the fact that they are there is something to keep an eye on, because if Spaden doesn't realize, then he could have some nasties in the back of his base.
I can't wait to see if that's actually relevant, as it looks like they're on the move. Eddie has seen the villagers, but he's going to walk by a house, so Spaden sees that as well. And in the meantime, he's just desperately trying to find a way into Eddie's base, but Eddie's just full walled up. That stable's not going down anytime soon.
Yeah, the interesting thing is here, though, if he does take that stable down, it's unlikely, but if he does take it down, it's kind of a big deal, since Eddie here doing scale barding armor kind of gives the indication that he will be going for knights once he gets up to the castle age. Meanwhile, those those villagers in the back, they've been found out, but Eddie's still going to get a villager kill on Spaden there, as Spaden brings a couple of archers over to try and clean them up. But right now, the villager count for Eddie is still ahead, and we got bloodlines coming in for Eddie as well. No doubt we will see some knights here, and that could be pretty nasty for Spaden, whose economy is wide open at the moment.
Yeah, and knights are generally pretty good against the archers and crossmen unless you have a ton of them, and I really don't think that Spaden has enough yet, especially considering that he's moving closer to the castle age, but he's quite a ways away, and that technology discrepancy could be a big problem for him. He just needs 75 more gold, and he can start advancing to the castle age. Well, he's getting close.
He is getting close. There you go. He's clicked up now, and he is going to be on the way up. But I feel like it's so slow for him. He's going to have to keep making archers, I think. And he's seemingly slowing down his archer production now. But he's got to keep the archers coming out. He's got to make sure that whatever Eddie throws at him now, he's got enough of this, crappy feudal army to deal with it. And Eddie probably going to make sure he's got +2 defense. He's going chain barding now before he actually comes in to attack, to give those knights as much lasting and sticking power as possible when attacking the archers. But yeah, Spaden still a little bit open. I think there is still a hole somewhere. There's always a hole, Rez. There's always a hole.
That is so true, Zach, as we see on the right side of Spaden's base. He's trying to quickly patch up his stone walls before the knights arrive, and Eddie making, cool play here, building a fire ship or 2 at his back dock, and manages to clear out the small amount of galleys. That's kind of the one situation where fire ships are pretty good, is when your opponent has a small number of galleys, and then the fire ships are able to clean those up really efficiently. But the pressure is on. Eddie's moving forward with the knights. Can he get in and do some damage before Spaden gets to the castle age?
Well, Spaden here should be able to re-wall behind this or repair this, because with knights, it's kind of awkward to get through a wall because your opponent can keep building behind it. Whereas when you've got archers there, they can fire over and kill the villager that's trying to repair. Looks like Eddie's going to get through though, but Spaden quickly walling up again, and really nicely done. And the archers there are going to be coming in just in time to push those knights away. I think Spaden's redeemed himself a little bit here. That really delayed castle time is no great shakes for him. He's got crossbow, he's got bodkin arrow, and he's ready to roll, pushing right out and getting pretty aggressive onto those knights there.
That was a solid emergency quick wall, as we're going to have an engagement here. But with the Bodkin Arrow and Crossman upgrade, suddenly Spaden has enough military units to actually go toe-to-toe with those knights, and Edie must pull back after losing 2 in exchange for, I think, like 1 crossbowman. So Spaden turning this game around. Not a bad engagement for him at all.
Really, really solid. He's taking the score lead as well, and this is exactly why earlier on I said he can't stop making archers, because once he gets to the castle age, he's got a solid number of archers, he can upgrade them, and he's got enough crossbows there to tear through the knights in small numbers. So he's looking really good. He's also, on the far right side, built a couple more fish and got a dock out. So even though Edie built those fires, he's still not used them to kill any fish from Spaden yet, and Spaden is fishing away with absolutely no protection on the water.
I really dig that sneaky dock. That way he gets to push his fishing ships to use. And, well, it looks like Edie is determined to charge this line down. And by bringing a mangonel and a villager to repair said mangonel, he's going to be able to wipe out this army if he's careful about it. But Edie, moving forward with the knights, the mangonel just wasn't there. He's going to lose a lot.
That was really nice for Spaden. Again, getting a bunch of knight kills there. And that mangonel is really menacing, but Spaden here going to try and out-micro it. If he can take it down, then he can engage the knights. The problem is, of course, if he stops to fight the knights, the mangonel will simply shoot and kill all of his crossbows, which would end catastrophically, and he's nearly getting caught out, but the micro from Spaden is just too strong right now. It's a really good play from him. Oh.
That is why that is such a devastating combination, because you can't stop to shoot the knights without getting killed by the mangonel. And speaking of that mangonel, it's just cleaning up this entire army, and Edie putting on so much pressure with that forward castle too. Spaden is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, and now he has to run away. Can he defend this?
Yeah, he is now feeling the heat a little bit. Now, I mean, he really wants to deal with this mangonel. That mangonel needs to go down, because he can't let Edie get away with that. He can't lose his entire army to a single mangonel, and he's going to take it down, fortunately. But yeah, I mean, Spaden here, he killed a lot of knights, and that is more costly to Edie at the end of the day. So I feel like Spaden's still doing just fine. If he hadn't have taken that pretty gnarly mangonel shot, then maybe he'd be in an even stronger position right now. But yeah, that castle on the front, a little awkward. It's denying that gold, and that is the big deal right here, because his other gold, well, we spoke about that earlier on.
Yeah, his other gold is absolutely terrible, and it looks like Spaden's kind of desperate. He's going to build a town center right next to that, hopefully clear out those forage bushes and get access to that gold. But there's also a watchtower on his other gold too, so really, Spaden needs to clear out one of these forages if he wants to survive, because he's running out of cash. But the way his economy is set up, he could go up to the Imperial Age now if he wants to.
He could. I feel like that could even be a good idea. He's taking loads of stone. So what if Spaden can go Imperial, and then he can go build a castle of his own, he could get out a Treb and push this castle back quite easily. The problem is, where will the gold come from? Well, for now, he could use his market a little bit. Perhaps not ideal, but it might be just what he needs to retake that gold on the front. But right now, Siege Workshop and Monastery, and it does look like we'll be heading for the Imperial Age pretty soon.
Yeah, he wants to get to the Imperial Age, I think, before he even builds that castle. And I really like that you brought up the trebuchet play, as I think that's what he's going for, based off the way his eco's set up. He just needs those 2 buildings and 70 more gold. Oh, he's got to sell something, and here comes the emergency market. It's a race.
Always.
Spaden needs to get to Imp, while Edie is putting on pressure with this battering ram.
Yeah, I don't think Edie can do enough here, though. I really don't. I mean, he might clear out a few of these buildings on the front, but Eddie's economy right now is not looking so good when it comes to planning going Imp at this stage. He's only on 2 TCs. He doesn't have, you know, that many villagers, 67, and he has made a lot of knights so far, and he's taken so much stone that he's dropping another castle on the right side as well. Oh my god.
Yeah, his economy is really not too intimidating, and Spaden, looking strong, is going to make a couple defensive camels, zone away this knight, and now comes the quest. Can he clear out this forest and gain access to his gold again?
Maybe. I mean, all in good time, but I think that castle is going to stop him from doing that before he even, manages to chop enough trees. I think the thing is here, like, Edie is really committed to the castle age. He's piling on the pressure, but if Spaden can just hold out and take that castle down, it doesn't matter which one. I guess if you can take the one on the left down, that's the one that he really needs to worry about. If he can just pull that off, then it might work out for him. At the moment, though, yeah, he's feeling the heat. He can't actually get that castle up because the Mangadai are stopping him. And obviously, Edie here needs to maximize the amount of damage he can do before Spaden is able to reach the Imperial Age and push him back.
Thankfully, camels are a pretty good answer to Mangadai, but with that watchtower at the back and that castle over there, there's just not enough camels. They don't have any upgrades. Edie, really just doing a lot of damage here. Both players in such an interesting position. Spaden has to defend this. If he can, he's in the Imperial Age, he has the advantage. But Edie, just so aggressive here. Spaden in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Edie is killing a bunch of vills with these Mangadai, and that's pretty nasty. The thing is here, though, if Spaden can just get 2 castles up, he only needs 2, and he can protect the majority of his eco, then no longer can Edie push in. I mean, that's it. He's going to be stopped right there. The first Treb is out for Spaden now, sorry, and he's actually focusing on the castle on the right side, which is interesting. I honestly thought he'd go for the one on the left so he could regain his main goal. But with 2 Trebs out and absolutely no answer for Edie or from Edie at all, other than to repair his castles, it does look like they might fall. And that seems like a terrible waste of resources for Edie if both of these castles are lost.
Yeah, Edie almost completely all in here. Losing both of those castles would set him so very far behind. And it's not like he has a plan B at this point. Spaden's in the Imperial Age, and Edie is just not quite there yet. He only has around 300 food, around 300 gold, and he doesn't seem to be having any plans of stockpiling that. He's really banking on keeping these castles alive, but it looks like at least the one on the right is gonna go down.
At the very least, it's gonna fall, and this is the thing for Spaden now. Like, he's got a great opportunity to really take this game home. The thing is, Edie is still piling all of his resources into making Mangadai, and the problem here, at least that I see, is that Mangadai and the Castle Age are really not all that for their price. They are expensive, and they are just not that strong. And, everyone has this stigma of like, oh my god, the Mangadai, they're so good. Yes, they are, but you need so many upgrades to make them that strong, and by the time you've got them, it's oftentimes too late.
Yeah, it takes forever to get all those upgrades, build enough castles in order to produce them, and with Edie losing a castle like he just did, it's going to be even harder to mass them up. The castle on the left is in deep, deep trouble, but these battering rams are going to try and get to these trebuchets and take them down. But in the meantime, Edie has a really bizarre, interesting plan, it looks like. He built 2 more docks at the back during this. He's on his way to the Imperial Age now, and he's making galleys.
Okay, no, that's actually really cool, and actually, this is one of the dynamics of this map that are really gonna, I think, favor Edie here while he's playing so aggressively. The main thing for Edie here, if he gets that war galley, he can hold down the middle of the map by using the galleys to cross the land here, which could be awesome. The problem is for Spaden here, is that although he's taken down the castle on the left and the castle on the right, he's still not got his gold back, because yeah, he's made the trebs, he's pushed the castles down, but he's not got any supporting army. As a result, 4 trebs gone down, and Spaden's economy is in certainly no shape to be losing 4 trebs right now, not after losing access to all of his gold.
Yeah, that is definitely devastating for Spaden, as, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we have a forward university from Edie here, so he's taking a page from my book of strategies. Oh my god, in a tournament game. Bless you, Edie,
He's
my
learned
child.
a thing or two. He has learned a thing or two from the almighty Rez, that is for sure. It's like a thing of legend, the Forward Siege University, apparently. But yeah, I have this habit of like prefixing everything that is on the front. Like, if someone drops, like in this situation, a university, I had the habit of prefixing siege to it. I don't know why. It's like, oh, it's a Forward Siege Castle, or oh, a Forward Siege University. Every time. I can't help myself. But yeah, Spaden without gold, he's forced to make skirms right now. And of course, Edie's going to be clever enough to keep those Mangadai out of the way. And he's doing light cavalry, so he's got the counter in his hand. and he is ready to tear through Spaden's military. But Spaden is still in it. Like it's not over yet. It's still not over. He's got 3 castles. He's pushing out on the right side to secure more resources. And the only thing I'd say that was pretty unfortunate for Spaden is this gold on the north side of the map is on Eddie's side and not his.
Oh yeah, that is really, really bad. The gold just not in his favor. And on the right side of the map at the top, it looks like Eddie going to be moving out with those war galleys. But Spaden always comes prepared with 2 fire ships just sitting there positioned. And wow, that's actually really sad.
Is it going to be enough? It's going to be so close. Oh, fire ships.
Wow, that was a lot closer than I think it should have been. So fire ships, not the most effective counter here. Spaden realizes that there's some piracy on the ocean going on over here, and he's going to get his war galley upgrade, working on chemistry. He's thinking about making some boats too, and well, his measly army of skirmishers is certainly in huge danger to all the siege and cavalry that Eddie's making. So I love Eddie's choice of units here.
Yeah, I think he's reacting to Spaden's lack of gold, and I mean, Spaden doesn't have too many choices here. I mean, he could go down the route of pikes and halbs and go down that route, but he's already seen the skirms, so he's preparing for that. And Eddie now is in a really strong position, but the scores are ever so close still, and I really do think that this is going to be a really close game for the next few minutes until either one of these players starts to get enough momentum to actually take the win.
This is such a wonderful back and forth game of Age of Empires 2. I'm thoroughly enjoying this one, and Spaden responding to the siege that he is just taking right now by getting masonry. And ooh, another mangonel shot, gonna take down a bunch of these skirmishers, and Spaden needs to mix something else in with his army, or there is no way he can deal with this huge group of light cavalry and mangonels. He also can't kill these trebuchets.
Yeah, that's a real problem for him. Like, the lack of counter siege here is troubling. He is doing halb right now, so he is preparing himself to get that trash out and actually mix the halbs in as well. But it's never as, you know, if you've got the choice of taking an army composition that has a gold unit in it, it's generally the better option. Like, Mangudai here are going to be strong regardless, and the fact Eddie here has light calves. Sure, the halbs are going to counter that, but the Mangudai are going to do enough damage from behind, I feel. And Eddie's also doing heavy camel right now, interestingly enough. Like, that's a really unusual and strange tech to go for, I think.
Yeah, maybe he's just trying to make sure that Spaden doesn't transition into hussars ever, and like you mentioned with the gold units, another problem with making only trash units is it's really hard to answer these trebuchets. This defensive trebuchet is frankly not good enough here, as Eddie moving the treb line forward. These skirmishers are going to kill some of Eddie's forward gold miners, but in the meantime, Eddie, like, is looking really, really powerful here. He's going to move the trebs just a teeny bit forward and start sieging this next castle.
At this point, I think Eddie will win this game now. I mean, he has taken the forward gold of Spaden there for a little bit before the villagers died. But yeah, these galleons in the middle of the map are going to make it really, really difficult for Spaden to push back across the center of the map. I mean, these galleons are the perfect defense for a treb, really. I mean, they're better than any unit I could possibly think of, because they have so much health, they have so much attack and so much range. They're just generally really, really strong, and for Spaden to push against that with just trash, it's not going to happen. And I think Spaden here is on the ropes at the moment. I think Eddie has the potential to close this game out at this point as the elite Mangudai upgrade comes in, and these guys are going to be tearing through the halbs on the right hand side.
Yeah, even though Eddie doesn't have that many elite Mangudai, really none of the trash units are a very good answer to elite Mangudais. They do have an attack bonus versus halberdiers, and the skirms just don't do enough damage. The Persian skirms also don't get the bracer upgrade, and little things like that really do matter. No answer yet to these trebs, especially with that navy sitting at the back there. Spaden needs something, maybe like a bombard cannon if he wants to deal with these.
Yeah, I mean, he has done chemistry, so a bombard cannon, you know, it's a possibility. Spaden right now doing fast fire ship, though, and it makes me wonder if really prioritizing doing that upgrade for water is that important to him at the moment, because he's got this big army on the front, and you know he's got Haubs. Okay, that's great. He's got you know, Skirms. Okay, that's great. But Mangudai, man, even like you say, a Skirm's just not gonna be good against the Mangudai. Unfortunately for Spaden, he will take down a couple of these Trebs. This is just not enough Mangudai here yet to be that impactful, but they will clean up the army. I highly doubt those Mangudai will go down here to those remaining Haubs. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, Eddie can only move his navy so far forward, and Spaden can just keep spamming trash units, and it will keep him alive for the time being. Another problem with the fire ship line in general is that even if you claim the water, they don't apply any offensive pressure on their own beyond that, because their range is so short. Once you secure the water, you can't actually really poke at any land units with them, even really on a map like this. The fire ships aren't going to be that powerful.
That's a huge deal as well. Like, I mean, Galleons were 10 range. They're going to be able to kill units from, you know, quite a way back. Whereas, like you say, the fire ships here are just going to be a little lackluster. They're just not going to have much more of an impact other than killing the Galleons that Eddie has out already. But they got cleaned up by the castle there anyway. And Eddie going to keep pushing in and probably do quite a bit of damage with the Mangudai back here, which still lack a few upgrades. But with Hussar coming in as well, I just don't see how Spaden in this position is going to be lasting too much longer at this rate.
And yet he's somehow not completely dead yet. A huge chunk of why he's not quite dead is, you know, we were talking about this earlier, guys. Elite Mangudai are incredibly powerful, but boy, do they take 38 years to produce, and you have to have lots of castles, and really they're just like a slow to build up death ball, and the trash units create super quickly. So Eddie, not quite able to seal this game out right now, as the Mangudai just are taking forever to produce.
Yeah, and couple that with the fact he only has one castle left after losing them so quickly to Spaden earlier on, and suddenly Spaden's able to actually hold him off because these Mangudai just don't have the opportunity to become a death ball like they really want to become. I mean, these guys would love to be a death ball right now, but they just don't have the numbers. Worth noting though, I mean, Eddie, as far as resources are concerned, he has so much gold available to him. He's got 1,000 in the bank. He's still got the second and third gold up at the north of the map, and he's just got, you know, he's got gold on the left side as well. He's just got so much gold now, so there's absolutely no reason why Eddie shouldn't be able to win this. The question is, when will he win this? And at the moment, how is Spaden managing to defend so well? I mean, he really is able to just keep defending. But it's really worth pointing out that, like, these cheap trash units, like, you know, Haubs and Skirms, they really are defensive units. So whilst, yeah, he can defend with these guys, when it comes to pushing, they're really going to be very lackluster and not really have a lot of pushing power as well.
Yeah, much like the fire ship, they are basically strictly counter units, so once you wipe out the enemy army, they really don't do too much beyond that. And like you mentioned, of course, Spaden, you know, his victory right now is somewhat temporary, as map control completely in favor of Eddie. He's just going to strip mine this entire map of all of its resources, so if Spaden manages to push back Eddie, he might just run out of cash entirely. We'll have to see how this goes, as Eddie just doesn't seem to have enough military production facilities. He just can't keep up with the army.
Yeah, that's true. Eddie just, like, yeah, not producing a huge amount of military right now. I mean, in this position, with this much resource, Eddie should be pop-blocked, in my opinion. But, I mean, did you see the massacre on the right side of the map? Eddie's been raiding with some Mangudai. He killed about 30 villagers. Well, maybe not 30, but he killed a lot. And that set Spaden's eco quite far behind his own now. Honestly, I mean, now I'm glad he's actually putting these Mangudai to use by raiding, as they do work extremely, extremely well as a raiding unit.
Oh yeah, not only are they a very, very potent death ball style unit, but their rating is great too, and Eddie looks like he's going to lose the linchpin of his strategy, his forward university getting shrebbed by Spaden right now. And Eddie just really has, like, half of his military production facilities, almost all of them are idle. He has so much money. Maybe Spaden has a chance to turn this around just because he's actually spending all of his cash. We'll see.
Maybe, and this is the thing. Right now, Spaden is still quite far behind in population. He is behind in military, yet he is still able to seemingly keep producing units, which, like we say, Eddie just isn't able to do at this point. Well, he's not doing. He should be able to do it. I mean, one stable has 10 hussars queued in it, and the rest are idle. I mean, that's really bad. It's like the opposite of what you want. So I think if Edie was his macro was a little better here, I think he could have finished this game already. As it stands, Spaden's just been given opportunities over and over because of Edie's misplays. I almost see these as.
Yeah, however, one thing that Spaden has not really had the opportunity to do is mine gold this game. And without gold, what is he going to do against these siege weapons? Like, he needs something, some answer to these siege rams. They're just so tanky.
Yeah.
And Spaden going to recognize this and gonna call game, so GG.
I think those siege rams were really the thing that tipped him there, because this is the thing, with the siege rams in front, these skirms are automatically going to target them. Which means the Mangudai at the back can kill all of the skirms, whilst the siege rams just push forwards, nearly unaffected by the javelins of the skirms, and then they're just going to absolutely tear through Spaden's economy, tear through these TCs and the like. So there you go. Edie, I mean, he should have won that game. I mean, this game has been his for the last 25 minutes or so, but he just couldn't finish it out. He just couldn't close the, seal the deal and close the game out. But finally, he's going to get this win, and Spaden... All I can say is well played to Spaden, because without gold, I'm absolutely amazed that he managed to last so long and do so well defending.
Yeah, this was a very, very promising, strong game from both players here. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the rest of this series turns out, as this one was remarkably close. Spaden put on one hell of a show, considering that he had no gold whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Just the siege in there was huge. I mean, at the end of that game, Edie had 1.5k gold, and he still didn't reach pop block cap. I just struggled to comprehend how Edie couldn't reach pop cap there, and I kind of put that down to him playing arena and playing with like 1 TC aggression, where he's just making very small number of units, and maybe not. I just think his macro kind of lacks a little bit. And that's kind of what I've taken from this. But anyway, we should go back because the players are asking questions and we're still looking at the game. So I'll put the point on the board here for Edie, 1-0 to him. And Spaden here will be choosing his home map next. Let me just see. What are they asking? 1 each? Yeah. They want to know how many restarts they have.
Yep, they get 1 restart each.